What's up, folks? I'm Odd, by the way, and welcome back to my Gauntlet of Tobers, my Tober of Tobers, the Tober to end all Tobers. This is basically an approach to Inktober, a series of prompts that one is supposed to do every day throughout the month of October, and we are currently on days 10 through 12. This wheel consists of several different prompt lists different people have created for the month of October, and I've basically been going through them day by day, so giving myself 3 days at a time. So say today is day 10, the day that the prompt list that we roll today, day 10 of that will be what we do, and so on and so forth for day 11, day 12, and for the rest of the 31 days of this month. If you're somehow new here, for that matter, because I've been doing this for 4 episodes so far. If it wasn't obvious that we're starting on day 10, I would recommend that you go and check out the beginning of the series. You don't have to. They're all different. So let's just get started. Okay, our first selection is going to be, drumroll, red? Yellow, red. Alright. Boop. Let's look at this one. So what is that, day 10? Day 10 for this is Horde from Lemon's Inktober. Clementine. Oh, that's fun. Try and say that several times fast. Alright, our next selection then. A boop. And red again. A lot of red. Alright, open this in a new tab. And what have we got? Day 11, right? Deadly Nightmare. Deadly Nightmare. Deadly Nightmare. Okay. A lot of these are a lot less spooky, but that is quite spooky. But okay. Yeah, that works. How lovely. Okay. Final selection. We gonna get something other than red? Is it gonna go to yellow finally? Hey, look at that! Nice. Remove. And we are on day 12. Puzzle. And this is another written out one. Interesting. Copy by Shady Basement Cat. Oh, that's fun. That sounds like my cat at 2 in the morning trying to kill me by tripping me. Alright, well, we have our prompts, so at that, I'm going to toss this over to our speed paint and voiceover for the next 3 days, so I'll see you there. So day 10 was Horde, and I feel like this could go 2 ways. A large collection of items, like hoarding, or a large group of living creatures, like a horde of zombies. I decided to go for the second option, but I didn't really feel like drawing normal zombies. Even though herd animals technically move in herds, not hordes, I thought it would be cool to make a creepy assortment of something like deer or sheep that became zombies. Ultimately, I landed on sheep because where there are sheep, there's usually a shepherd. The idea of an unthinking horde is great in and of itself, but I've kind of been on a roll of creating characters, and while you could say a mindless horde of zombies is really kind of one character, they're mainly also just kind of an environmental hazard at that point. Besides, I wanted to draw a puppy. I immediately had the thought of something I have kind of approached before, a shot kind of framed by the light of a flashlight and the characters having moon glow reflected from their eyes. I did something kind of similar in my zine/comic Kindred. This time though, I also decided to make it kind of like an infrared shot. My thought was that this was someone documenting almost a sort of cryptid, a lone dog herding an undying flock of sheep. I made a kind of simple, kind of German Shepherd-like dog, but I also gave it one of those collars inspired by the traditional wolf collars worn by Anatolian shepherds. I don't know if they're in use much anymore, but they're basically extra protection of the neck, with the added benefit of stabbing anything that goes for it. This dog is only known by locals as, fittingly, the Shepherd. Initially, it was easy to assume that it was just another sheepdog dutifully doing its job. At one point, it probably was. Legends speak of a shepherd who died in a fire, but his loyal dog and sheep were never found. The shepherd's flock is different, though. No matter how many times they are attacked or injured, they never seem to stop moving. Some look relatively normal, if maybe emaciated, but others are sporting obviously lethal injuries, broken necks and legs, or even complete flaying of the skin, leaving only animate bone. The shepherd itself is incredibly smart, but never seems to listen to human commands, nor follow any other local shepherds. Some have reported their sheep or lambs lost to wolves, only to swear later that they saw them with the shepherd, trotting along happily with mangled bodies. Day 11 was the prompt Deadly Nightmare. I was a little lost on this one initially. Like I said, I've been creating characters. I could obviously have some sort of sleep paralysis demon, but what context would I put them in? Would I show their victims? How do I make this not Nightmare on Elm Street or Freddy Krueger? Then I remembered that there is actually a mythological creature called a nightmare. Looking it up, it was definitely different than the approaches of, say, God of War or Dungeon Meshi gives it. It can actually take many forms, and a lot of different Scandinavian cultures have given the same creature different powers, the same name though. The name isn't explicitly nightmare either, it's usually just mare. I guess the night part was implied well enough back in the day. Predominantly, it sits on your chest and gives you bad dreams, which is very similar to accounts of sleep paralysis. Probably explains why it was also a shapeshifter a lot of the time. Fitting to their name, the mare would also supposedly ride people's horses ragged through the night, making them too tired to work the next day. Between this information and seeing a mare in an illustration depicted as a predatory creature, I decided to make a sort of like humanoid cat beast wearing the skull of a horse. Listen, I don't think artists really wake up one morning and say, I'm gonna shade a piece by hatching today. It's either mandatory, like it's their job, or a necessity for their style, or they, like me, are suddenly possessed by the concept staring back at you and going, I must crosshatch. I also just kind of wanted to redeem myself for the first batch where I wanted to hatch a piece, but it wasn't turning out right. I wanted this piece to be minimal colors, looking kind of like someone sketched it in a research guide long ago. The Wikipedia page for nightmares also mentioned that they like to tangle things like hair and branches of trees by riding them, but I think my version just makes things all like gnarled and ruly just by being near them. Another weird nightmare fact, they could also be people during the day in some cultures, women specifically. This nightmare is the cursed form of a woman named Mariana. Mariana was promised by her family to a young man. Though initially both of them were hesitant, the two were at least allowed to court, and Mary found herself, honestly, quite smitten, and he had seemed the same. At least, so she thought. One night she had gotten word that her betrothed had run away with another woman. She turned into a vicious nightmare, running into the woods, searching for them to no avail, and was woken up the next morning in the forest by a hunter's dog, aware of feeling great rage but having little memory of anything else. Now she turns into the creature every night. She'll only get control of it once she learns to accept her lost love and move on. She also seems to be tormenting him in his new wife's dreams, though, and she's not too unhappy about that. And yes, the left behind for elopement thing was actually listed as a real life or, mythological cause of human mares. You're welcome. Finally, day 10 was puzzle. Another prompt that brought different things immediately to mind, but ultimately I landed on what I thought was a cool idea. An old wooden puzzle with something imprisoned inside of it. Just barely peeking through the uncovered parts is some creature that looks almost too big to fit into it. It's very Eldritch horror vibe, almost bordering on like Hellraiser lore a little bit, but the Cenobites aren't trapped in the puzzle, right? They're just summoned by it, or does it depend? Maybe those movies need to be on my watch list for spooky month. I've never really been into like major gore or torture movies. Gore is good when it's fitting for the moment, but I can't deal with it being as egregious as like Saw. Also, that little puppet in the movies really freaked me out. I think there was an ad campaign for one of the Saw movies that freaked me out because it would show static and then the puppet would just appear on the screen for a second. Terrified me as a kid. Anyway, this piece was definitely a study in perspective, and I'm not ashamed to say that I used the CSP cube, okay? It was helpful. Besides, I still had to work out the angles of all the floating removed pieces. The creature inside is kind of the classic mystery tentacle beastie with like hooked suckers on the bottom side of his tentacles. Imagining being hooked by that makes me feel a little very vibrant image in my brain. This creature is known as Enigma. They've lived inside this magic puzzle for centuries. Despite its simple appearance, the wooden puzzle has yet to be solved. This hasn't been helped by legends saying Enigma uses the puzzle to lure in victims, or that great tragedy struck when it was actually solved, and great effort was taken to put the beast back into it. Enigma seems intelligent, able to help move pieces or bat away hands with its hooked tentacles. When it is able to move any part of its body outside of its prison, Enigma's magical abilities start to be able to control the cube, making it float and spin in midair. Still, at this point, they cannot undo the binds themselves from inside. The beast is like the white whale to some determined puzzlers, who have reported the cube coming to them in dreams and the creature inside speaking to them. Or maybe the presence of Enigma, along with their resulting obsession over this impossibly impossible puzzle, simply drives them completely mad over time. Those are this batch of prompt. I feel like I really went in on the lore this time around, but I like these ones. Things seem to be shifting toward the disturbing a little bit, but 'tis the season, right? I love a little light horror. That being said, leave a like on this video if you did like it, and tell me which of these drawings is your favorite. At that though, I'll leave this here, and I'll see y'all on Wednesday, I believe, for days 13 through 15.